starting at about 5 years old, I davened that I wouldn't have to go through the shidduch system. I'm from Brooklyn, born and raised Orthodox. I went to Beis Yaakov schools.
My parents moved down to Houston when I was, I think, 2. They went to be like Rabbeim and Chinuch. Back to New York. My parents got divorced.
Got to the flight 3 hours early. I wanted to search through my emails to see if she was okay, but my Wi-Fi wasn't working. I'm looking around to see if anybody's there, not even an agent by the desk. The only person there was a guy sitting there with his backpack and his note and his srugi, and I'm like, I can't go over to a guy and ask him something, right? So I went over to him and I said, "Excuse me, sir, can you please help me with my Wi-Fi?"
On a flight to New York, there's a girl with this I don't know what kind of South African English accent.
It was South African.
That was like what just made me start a conversation with her. Where are you from? Like, why are you on a flight to New York? And she said, Brooklyn. I'm like, what's with the accent? Lo and behold, our seats were next to each other.
That is crazy.
We sit down and we enjoy an entire 12 hours together and we talk about everything. My parents said no.
It was like very abrupt. She's like, don't text me, bye.
And I'm walking down the street and I feel eyes on me. And I turn around and there he is, trudging up the hill with his backpack.
But there was this really weird feeling of all of a sudden like a shock in my body. And then like I took a few more steps and then I saw her. And they say like, in Eretz Yisrael there's a special like hashgacha pratis, and like I really felt that every step along the way.
And how long have the two of you been married for? 15 years?
Almost.
Coming along. 15 years.
Wow. Hey, do you love to cook? Because this week I brought, drumroll, the famous, wonderful, beautiful, lovely Shushy Turin, also known as Cooking in Heels, and her husband, with the name that he goes by, Eating in Flats. It's a little bit different than what we typically do here at Stories of Hope, and yet there's still so much to learn. It's heartwarming, it's sweet, and it shows that nothing can get in the way of God's plan, even if it seems like things don't align. I'm just really excited, and I'm not going to give more away. I do, though, have a delicious box of cookies that Shushy dropped off, so I'm going to go eat those, but grab your favorite snack and get cozy and comfortable for another special episode of Stories of Hope. And of course, before we begin, I love enhancing and adding so much blessing to anything I'm doing by accessing my special Kol Chabad Tzedakah Pushka app. That's right, it's never been easier to give tzedakah. I simply open up or download, if you don't have it yet, the free Kol Chabad Tzedakah Pushka app. Press the button. I can give 18 cents, $1 before I do anything, where I just truly want extra mazel. And then that's it. Within seconds, the tzedakah has been given, enriching my life and hopefully someone else's. So download the Kol Chabad Tzedakah Pushka app today, or find more details in the show notes below to be a part of this amazing, amazing mitzvah. Hi, I'm Tzipora Grodko, and this is the Stories of Hope podcast. What an honor to have my dear friends Shushy and Benjamin here in the studio, also known as Cooking in Heels and Co.
Eating in Flats.
Eating in Flats. That's actually pretty great.
Yeah.
I need to give your wife a shout out because this is the story, guys. I was coming into Teaneck on a date and my brother Daniel was flying in from Israel, and I said, Shushy, I don't have time to pick up food for him and pick him up from the airport and go on this date because Jewish stores close very early in specific cities. So help me out here. So Shushy placed an order for sushi and made me look like a really good sister, got him one of everything. And then I showed up to her house thinking I was just getting the sushi, and she baked me cookies. She made me some like fancy Mexican drink and then gave me dinner. And she said, you were going on a date. So I figured like maybe you needed an extra TLC. I'll go on dates all the time if that will get me dinner from you. You know what I'm saying? And then today she came with this box of cookies. It is 8:40 at night. I've been here since 2. I haven't eaten. And you just go above and beyond. And I'm giving you like this whole testimonial, gratitude speech because I'm just like, if you see something, say something. And I just appreciate you. So thanks for the cookies and thanks for enhancing my life as well as my appetite.
Well, thanks for being such a great friend.
Oh,
It's really my pleasure. It pads my ego because you give such good compliments.
well, I just say what I see. So thank you. Thank you so much. And I know that the two of you have quite a story of how you met. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who would love to hear it. So Shushy, take the mic and then hand it to Ben.
All
Start
right.
from the beginning.
Okay. So growing up, I'm from Brooklyn. I was born and raised Orthodox. My dad is BT, and I went to Beis Yaakov schools and pretty much thought that I was going to live my entire life in Brooklyn, living the Beis Yaakov dream, etc. I would say that I have one caveat to the story and my background, where I had an aunt who did not get married until very late. I was very close with her. I still am very close with her. She got married actually at 40. And my entire life, I thought that that would be me. So starting at about 5 years old, I davened that I wouldn't have to go through the shidduch system. I wouldn't have to, I wouldn't have any trouble dating. And it's a weird thing to think of when you're 5, but
Yeah, it's really young.
yeah, that's just how I grew up. So when I approached dating and that whole mindset, my goal when I stepped outside, when I did anything where anybody else could see me was, is this going to stir my shidduch? Which is really sad to think about, but that's just what my mindset was. But as far as my family, we grew up fairly open-minded, but, well within the norms of Orthodox Jewry in Brooklyn.
Okay. Thank you. Benjamin, what's your background like?
So I'll get to that in a second, but just to piggyback off of what Shashi was saying is, and I think that point that she just made about the shidduch system and her feelings and her anxiety about going through that process played a big role in our story, or some role in the story. When we've talked about this, I also had similar anxieties or messages that were, I think, is subtly a word, subtly given to us as kids. Already like maybe elementary school, but like for sure, like beginning of high school. Decisions you make now are going to affect your shidduchim, or which shir you're in, or who's your chavrusa, or like should you switch yeshivas,
Oof.
or like what will people think. So like we could come back to that, but I think that played a little bit of a role.
Such a pressure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and then to add to that, so I grew up in Houston. I was born in Lakewood. My parents moved down to Houston when I was, I think, 2. And then we lived there for a while. They went to be like Rabbeim and Chinuch. We moved back to New York when I was in 6th grade. Shortly thereafter, my parents got divorced. And then I went away to high school to Ner Yisrael in Baltimore. And then after that, I went to Shalavim. So having my parents getting divorced was also another thing that I was told all the time. Like, as a 7th grader whose parents are getting divorced, you're also like getting messages, maybe not directly, but like you're hearing from people like, oh, like you're not going to have such a hard time finding a shidduch.
It's so sad.
So, yeah, I mean, it's sad. But first of all, that's the thing about anxiety. I had all this anxiety for many years, and like ultimately God had a plan, and I did not have any of that really happen. So,
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that
Yeah.
like little sneak peek. I'll let you start with the viewers and share the rest with them because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool because I know the ending, but they don't. So
Okay.
I'll
Well,
seatbelt
the ending
myself
is that
down.
we got married. So the story begins pretty much like when I was in seminary.
Mhm.
At around Pesach time, I decided like I'm done with seminary. I'm ready to move on to the next stage of my life, ready to go home, get married, have a million babies. And my mom was like, no, I paid for the full year. You're staying. So I had this chavruta who lived in Israel at the time, and she got engaged while I was there. And so in order to stay for her wedding, I extended my ticket. Then her engagement actually broke, but my ticket stayed the same. So I was on a different flight than the rest of my seminary. And I didn't really think anything of it, but it played a big role because I had to be on that flight. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Ben.
So I went from Ner Yisrael to a yeshiva called Shivat Shalavim in Israel.
Mhm.
I did my first year there.
Are you the only guy from Ner Yisrael to ever go to Shalavim?
So I get that question a lot. In my year, there were 3 guys that went to a similar yeshiva, Karen Biavne.
Ah, yeah.
And I went to Shalavim. I was the second guy to ever go to Shalavim.
Pretty cool in the history of Ner Yisrael.
Yeah, you have a lot of guys who will like go the other way,
Mhm.
from KBY or Shalavim to Ner Yisrael. But that was like a very conscientious decision I made. Shalavim's a great yeshiva with guys who are serious, and I wanted to, break into that world.
Mhm.
So I spent a year there, and I loved it, and I loved Eretz Yisrael, and I decided that, a great plan, along with like I think 7 other guys my year, that I was going to make Aliyah, stay in Israel, and join the army. So I made that decision around, I think, like Pesach time or shortly after Pesach. I filled out my application, and then
Wow.
we were, was ready to go. So the plan was to make Aliyah, go home for the summer. I worked in Camp Pask that summer, and then to come back on one of the Nefesh B'Nefesh Aliyah charter flights. But part of that, and again, I got this messaging during this process, was that like shidduchim in America are hard, but shidduchim for olim and single olim with parents not in the country are also even harder. So front of mind, more so than like joining the army, like there was anxiety about like my future, like, how will I get married? When will I get married? And there was also Shalavim is a Hesder yeshiva where guys learn and then they go to the army and come back and learn. And some guys will try to get married before they actually start their army service. That way, like you have a partner in it, and there's like advantages to that.
Yeah.
So guys who are my age, like 20 years old, were already sort of in the parsha, whereas like in America that wouldn't necessarily be the case. But I was surrounded by guys who were. So it wasn't like out of sight, out of whatever, not outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
So for me, Shushy spoke about the flight. The first part of the story that I find to be an exciting little highlight or point was my second to last, or one of the last Shabbosim that I was in Israel, we spent in Tzfat. And it was Erev Shabbos right before, and someone pulled me over. They said, there's this Rav here that his name is Rav Fish. I forget if it's Rav Avram Fish or Mordechai Fish. I forget off the top of my head. But he was a tzaddik nister who lived in Tel Aviv. And the Baba Sali, before the end of his life, said he has to kind of like reveal himself and take care of people. And basically, he made a promise to people that if you come to his kever and you say Rachem b'chastecha, or in our case, we sang it 3 times, and then you daven for whatever you want. He's going to take your tefillah to the Kisei HaKavod. He's not going to leave until he gets an answer. So we went there. At the time, it was literally just a small matzeva. We've gone back, and there's like now an ohel over it, and tons of stories people posted about like Yeshuas and stuff.
I think I've been there.
But I went there and I davened, and this was like one of the main things I was davening for. So fast forward to Motzei Shabbos, I got an email from El Al that there was a schedule change, and I was on this flight. And so
take it away,
Take
Shushy.
it away, yeah.
My turn. Okay, so I'm somebody who shows up early to almost everything. Not anymore, but I show up early to everything. So I got to the flight 3 hours early. Now, my mother had surgery the night before. It was still sleeping time in America, and I wanted to search through my emails to see if she was okay, but my Wi-Fi wasn't working. So I'm looking around to see if anybody's there, not even an agent by the desk. The only person there was a guy sitting there with his backpack and his naot and his srugi and his like beige pants. And I'm like, I can't go over to a guy and ask him something, right? Like, but then I was feeling pressure because I couldn't find anybody. So I'm like, all right, nobody's here to see me, so I'm going to go over and say something, because I never like initiated a conversation with a boy in my life outside of my parents' home. So
it felt scandalous.
Forget it. If I was going to share my shit off, this would be it. So I went over to him and I said, "Excuse me, sir, can you please help me with my Wi-Fi?" Straight up in that accent. And he said, "Yeah, sure, I'll help you." And we had iPod touches at the time. That was how old this is. And I gave him my iPod. He started looking through it, trying to get the Wi-Fi. It wasn't working. It wasn't just me. And in the meantime, he made conversation, because I guess for him, it was normal. And for me, this was like the furthest thing from what I wanted.
And so tell us, how come the accent?
So this is a good question. I think I needed to put like a barrier between the person that I was and the person that I was presenting myself to be, because it was so distanced from what I grew up with.
Almost like a disguise.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's really weird because we can't figure out why. Shushy's usually a very rational person.
That's nice.
Why? But it's so interesting because here I was sitting at this gate, and I'm like on a flight to New York. There's a girl with this I don't know what kind of South African English accent.
It was South African.
And that was like what just made me start a conversation with her. I said, "Where are you from? Like, why are you on a flight to New York?" So she's like, "I'm from Brooklyn." And I said, "So where are you from before that?" And she said, "Brooklyn." I'm like, "What's with the accent?"
So I was like, "Oh, my roommate from seminary was from South Africa," realizing that I made
Caught yourself in a
big
pickle.
blunder. Anyway, my roommate from seminary was from South Africa, and I did pick up her accent a little bit, but like by then it had flushed out of my system. But I told him, that was the reason. And then,
which, by the way, is quite odd.
Yeah, no, we're not going to deny the fact that it's weird, but it was necessary.
But it worked. Yeah.
So naturally, the next question was, "Okay, what seminary were you in?" And she said,
Mechon
Raya.
Raya.
Now that's a Beis Yaakov seminary, but Raya is also of Aaron Yitzchak HaKohen Cook. And if I got that wrong, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure that's right.
Uh-huh.
Which is, Dati Leumi, one of the founders of that movement. And so I'm really puzzled by this kind, like, who is this girl? Like, what's going on? And
then I say,
so
it's a Beis Yaakov. And then he goes, oh, yeah, my sister might go to BJJ next year. And I'm like, what? Why?
yeah. So then she had said it in like, it's a Beis Yaakov, like you have no idea what that is or what, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I said to her, and this was like all the rage at the time with the Beis Yaakov girls was Rosh Hashanah Pincus books.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, oh, so you must love Rosh Hashanah Pincus.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I like him, but I like the Nesiva Shalom better. And so like we have this banter going
sweet.
already.
And then then he opens up his backpack and he pulls out a Nesiva Shalom and he goes, you can read this on the flight.
Yeah.
It's like yeshiva guy seminary girl flirting
It
in
totally
the most
was.
kosher,
Yeah.
cringy, naive,
Exactly.
sweet way.
The most.
Exactly.
Anyway, so in the end, he let me use his iPod because mine wasn't working.
Mhm.
I search it. My mom was fine. Thank God. And then people start arriving and I start seeing my friends from school coming to the gate. And I'm sitting there, sitting next to this guy. And I'm freaking out. And I don't know what to do because I can't be rude and just get up and go. He has a whole conversation going.
Yeah.
She's like slowly distancing herself from me, pretending like she doesn't even like.
By the way,
know
I'm feeling your stress. Like I didn't
exist.
go to Beis Yaakov seminary or school, but I understand that feeling of maybe I'll get kicked out or like I can't be seen or oh no, what are people going to say? Like, and you're just sitting there living your best life. And she's like trying to strategize a whole 007 action plan.
Exactly.
So like, yeah, we get up to board the flight and like, we're like near each other, but she's like, you know, not looking at me, not making contact. But lo and behold, our seats were next to each other.
That is crazy.
Yes. And it's not like I'm going to sit there and be like, oh, flight attendant, I can't sit next to him because like we sort of know each other already. Like that is rude. So we sit down and we enjoy an entire 12 hours together and we talk about everything.
Wait, Shushy, did you have the accent for 12 hours?
No.
Okay, this was
It
done.
faded.
Okay,
we had
faded.
already
Thank God.
established that she was from Brooklyn and
Okay.
yeah.
My New Yorker came out.
Okay.
So after that point, we discussed so many different things. We discussed Hashkafa. We discussed what we expected our lives to look like in the future. And it was so weird to me that everything matched. And it seemed like perfect. And I mean, listen, I had joked to my friends before I got onto the flight. I was like, oh, I'm going to come home and start dating immediately. Like my mother definitely has a guy sitting next to me on the flight that she's planning on me marrying. But I didn't expect him. I also was like, my brain was doing a mental gymnastics because he looks like this, but we're speaking the same language. How is that possible? So
with your background being Beis Yaakov and his seeming more like Sioni.
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, also though, it definitely came up that I was planning on making Aliyah.
You have to check out Pizza Biza, making fresh hot pizzas on the spot by their professional chefs, indoor or outdoor in their pizza ovens, meat or dairy, plus full catering around the tri-state area and Florida. Specializing in events with several hundred people with no lines. You heard right. Full menu. You have to check them out on Instagram at Pizza Biza and visit them at pizzabiza.com. Pizza's my favorite food, so please invite me, Pizza Biza, on Instagram and check them out at pizzabiza.com. These are the people you want to call. Pizza Biza, I'll see you at my next event.
I've been waiting for something like this for the longest time. Almost sold out during its first printing. I am so excited to share with you the release of this new book, only a few months old, and already in its second printing, Isha Chayil, King Solomon's timeless poem. It's not just a song, it's a tribute to the Jewish women across history. This elegant new release by acclaimed author Rabbi Yossi Marcus tells the story of 24 extraordinary Jewish women, from Sarah and Miriam to Esther and beyond, all of them. Each chapter highlights women of strength, of wisdom and courage and faith, showing how their lives embody the verses of Eshet Chayil, which you hear every week. It draws on thousands of years of Jewish scholarship with a special emphasis on the insight of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. It's incredible. And it's dedicated in the memory of the women who were stationed at Nahal Oz, killed on October 7th. It's truly a tribute to the Jewish women of courage across time. Each verse is paired with original artwork by Israeli artist Leah Baratz, really capturing its spirit in striking contemporary form. It's written with so much depth, but it's accessible even for younger readers, making it engaging for teens and adults alike. So it's an excellent gift if you're a parent or a daughter. It's educational and inspirational, and it's just a tribute to the heart and soul of the Jewish people, specifically the women of valor who we look up to. So if you have a bat mitzvah coming up, a wedding, just a simple opportunity to give a gift, it's available on eshetchayil.com or kahoot.com. Use code MM20 or SOH20 for 20% off. Again, that's eshetchayil.com, kahoot.com. You can even find it on Amazon and get our exclusive 20% off code with MM20 or SOH20. You can find more details in the show notes below. But trust me, this is a household item that everybody should have, especially the woman.
So we didn't have any coaching. Dating coaching. So we didn't know we weren't supposed to talk about like hashkafa on the first date or whatever.
Or how many kids you want to have.
But we started getting into this where like I said, yeah, I'm planning on making Aliyah. And it just, I think for Shushy, that was like the big thing. Like that seems so different than what I was expecting.
So what happened next?
So flight went on. We got off, and there was like some sort of awkward exchange at the end where like should we
Wait, he helped me with my bags, so I was in his debt.
Very chivalrous, of course.
Those seminary bags are heavy.
and there was like an exchange of emails.
Yes. I didn't want to give him my phone number because I felt like there's no way I'm going to talk to him. I wanted to give him like my old email address or something, but like part of me didn't because our conversation was just so stimulating. So I ended up giving him my email with the idea that I would not respond to any of his messages, but I did.
One important piece is also that we discovered on the flight that, was it on the flight or was it afterwards? Whatever it is, my cousin was her teacher in seminary.
Yes, that I was pretty close with at
More
the time.
connections.
Yeah.
Yes. So after the flight, Ben went to his dad and told him I met somebody on the flight, and his dad was really excited for him. And I went to my parents, and they said, "Oh, did somebody help you with your bags?" And I said, "Yeah, there was this nice boy." And then that was it. I didn't tell them anything because I really liked the life I was living, and I didn't want to end it then. So for me, he was a secret, but for him, I was not a secret.
Yeah.
And then we started talking, and emails turned to texts. And as time went on, we just kind of got into this idea more that we just fit together. And we decided we wanted to start dating. So I said, listen, my parents are never going to say yes unless we, propose it as a shidduch. So we roped in his aunt from Lakewood to propose it as a shidduch. And my mom was like, she heard about this guy who was 19 years old making Aliyah from a divorced home. And she's like, why is this coming across my desk? Like, also, my daughter got home like a minute and a half ago. So she said no. Then we said, okay, let's try our teacher and see if that works. And she's like, this is the second time somebody is suggesting it. It's a little weird, but also no. And she's like, do you know this boy? And I'm like, mm-mm. Mm-mm. Sounds like a great idea, though. And then
she's
it got
like, does it?
then it got to the point where Ben was like, listen, I'll go to your mom and just say to her, like, listen, we've been talking. I would like to take your daughter out. And I was like, no, don't do that. Finally, he's like, you got to tell her. So.
Yeah, I mean, I had been talking to, I think both of my parents knew at that point. My Rebbe in Eretz Yisrael knew. He was not a fan at the time, but he said, at minimum, like, if you're building a relationship, it can't be built on a lie. Like, it has to be built on truth. So, like, a non-starter for me before, like, anything, like, serious happened was that her parents needed to be on board.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I did get an earful from my seminary teacher, his cousin. Yes, that happened.
The first year.
But then afterwards, she's like, actually, it's a great idea. So, that's how she got roped into this.
Mm-hmm.
Then.
So I kept pushing and pushing and pushing for her to tell her parents, bring it up.
Okay, but then.
And I'm like, I'm going to meet her tomorrow.
Okay, so then finally I texted my parents. They were at a movie and I texted them the whole story and they left the movie theater and came home and yelled at me. Oh my gosh, my siblings still remember it. They were upstairs and I was getting an earful. Okay.
And what was the earful? Like,
The
this was
earful was-
inappropriate?
I can't believe you met a guy. Oh, so my mom has come to me now and said, like, I imagine that you were with some sort of really old biker dude. And like, also she Googled like Ben Turin, who is actually his dad because his dad's name is Ben Sion. And she got a picture of his dad.
Oh.
So she also like Googled Shalavim and she's like, look, do you see any black hats here? Don't you want a black hat guy? So once that conversation happened, I texted him. What did I say? Goodbye?
Then,
dramatic.
Yeah, something dramatic.
Oh, I used to know this by heart.
I
I guess
know.
I've healed a little bit. It was like very abrupt. It's like, don't text me, bye. Or like,
Yeah.
we can't do this anymore.
No, it wasn't a full sentence. It was two
like,
words
it
of
was
something.
like very much like goodbye.
Yeah.
And so I like texted back. I was in the Walmart in Scranton, Pennsylvania. and I'm like, that was like really abrupt. I'm like, can we talk about this for a second? Or could we try plan B, like me talking to your mom or like something like that? And no response. Literally no response. Cold. This is like the beginning of the summer. And it went from like having like long conversations to nothing.
Ooh.
And
And
I
I-
was like,
And
broken.
I'm broken with you right now. I'm broken. And I know the ending.
It was
What
go
was going-
away.
Oh, go
away.
It was
Yeah,
just
it was
go away.
Go away. So what prompted you to be so abrupt?
My parents said no. And they were in
Her
charge.
mother, I think, took, at least she's told me this, that she took the phone and texted go away or something.
No, I texted it.
Okay.
And also, I'm an oldest daughter.
Oh.
Also, when you come home from seminary, that's like my investment. Let me see my investment. And like you come home talking to a boy when that's like the last thing they wanted. Or
It's so ironic because everyone always says like, oh, it would have been so much easier if you just met someone. And here like, I met someone. And then they say, no, it's inappropriate.
Right.
But
exactly.
the goal is, it's such an oxymoron and just bringing that to light. So yeah, continue.
Okay. So summer passes and Ben makes Aliyah. He's going to the army. And
yeah, so I went back to Shalavim
Mm-hmm.
for Shana Bet, and I made Aliyah, and I was planning on going to the army, but this whole story was kind of like had thrown some questions my way, and I was still very young and still figuring things out. I'm still figuring things out, and like I've been in both worlds, in the yeshivish world and the modern world, and always trying to find there's like pros and cons to both, and
Yeah.
trying to like straddle those lines and get the best from both. And so I had a lot of questions, and some doubts about the path that I was taking. The path I was taking was very finite, you know. In a way, in Israel, if you go to the army, it's one thing if like you're a guy and you just like stay in Israel, Shana Aleph, Shana Bet, Shana Gimel, Shana Dalet, and then like you just like stay there.
Mm-hmm.
You can still kind of be in both worlds. But like if you're going to the army, that like defines you in Israeli culture, or like you're all of a sudden you're Tzioni, you're Dati Lumi, you're whatever, and like you're not gonna necessarily fit in the Haredi world anymore. So that, you know, I have my entire, like my cousins are all black hat, and my grandfather was the mashgiach in Scranton Yeshiva. Like I have a lot of black hat family.
He has more yichus than me.
So that was tough to like, you know, to leave my father's house, so to speak, even though my father also kind of straddles both lines. But so I had a lot of questions, and I never kind of got over Shushy. And then when I went back to Eretz Yisrael, it kind of just like hit me even more.
Yeah.
And it was really tough. And so there was El Zman, and it was a tough El Zman. And then I went to finally Sukkot Chol Hamoed. I called this cousin of mine who was Shushy's teacher in seminary, and I wanted to talk to her. Like I just kind of wanted to like talk things out, see where things are. Like I was respecting Shushy about going away and not talking to her, but
no, this sounds rough.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I've been dating for a while, and therefore I've heard about every segula in the book. But if there's one thing I know that's guaranteed, it's the power of prayer. The power of prayer is invaluable. And I want to share a story for you that I heard from westernwall.org. There was a girl, Rachel, who was dating for a bit, navigating it through her 30s and really, really struggling. She met Moshe and things seemed really promising, but she wanted this extra security of knowing that there was more blessing. And so she reached out to the westernwall.org, and they offered to have someone go to the hotel for her for 40 consecutive days. In addition, they had someone complete the entire Sefer Tehillim every day for 40 consecutive days. Now, Rachel felt so much more calm throughout this process, knowing there was more blessing specifically focused on her and this stage. And of course, thank God Rachel ended up marrying Moshe. Now listen, we don't know why it happened, what the source of it was, but what we do know is that blessing attracts more blessing. There is an extra special energy, and westernwall.org is an unbelievable non-for-profit that offers this special service. They even have Torah scholars who will be praying on your behalf, so your donation is supporting Torah study as well. And now Hanukkah is approaching. Zos Hanukkah, talk about a powerful time of prayer. If you want that extra peace of mind, if you just want more blessing in your life, then look up westernwallprayers.org. It's an unbelievable organization, and they might be able to give you that extra strength that you've been looking for. So westernwallprayers.org. You can find more details in the show notes below or check them out on their website.
This sounds rough. And also what I'm hearing from your story is that struggle between doing what feels authentic to you and feeling a pressure to define your hashkafa in a way that the world understands.
Right.
And that's a systemic, like superficial issue. It shouldn't be an issue that a person has to grapple with in choosing to live their authentic life. Like sometimes we feel like, oh, but what category am I going to be in? And how are other people going to define my worth or my hashkafa? And that's not, it shouldn't feel like a challenge. It shouldn't feel like a problem. You should live your best life. And I want to highlight that in case anyone's struggling with that. Like, but how are people going to know? God is the matchmaker and you need to live your best life. And if other people don't understand how to categorize you, that's not an issue. That's something they need to figure out.
That seems like a them problem.
Yeah. Okay, so Shashi, pick us back up. So
he went to my
Benjamin's
teacher.
Heartbroken. Yeah.
Yes, he is heartbroken. And I am sitting there starting in the shidduchim process. People are reading my resume and telling me that I'm too short. I'm too enthusiastic. I don't know what they were saying. I was shielded for most of it, but I didn't really start dating. I didn't see anyone. It was Sukkot's time. I was sitting in the back of my parents' van in Florida.
I didn't mention yet that.
I know, I'll tell. And my teacher calls me and says, I'm sitting here with Binyamin. He is so forlorn. Will you date him if he comes
I had left
home?
her house already. It wasn't like putting you on the spot. But she's like, I talked to her on Sukkot and she said, okay, let me just check in with her.
Yeah.
Let me see what she's up to.
So she said, listen, he's not sure if he's if he's coming back home. Will you date him if he's home Pesach? And I said, well, I think I discussed this with my parents before giving an answer, though I don't recall actually at the moment. But I said, yeah, I'll give it a shot, but I'm not waiting for him. Like, I'm going to date other guys.
Okay.
And so he got this answer, and it was.
Yeah, on the one hand, it was like, oh my gosh, like all this, like, remember, there was no closure at the last time. It was just this abrupt. I'm like, does she hate me? But that doesn't match what she was telling me 5 minutes ago. Like, the way she sounded.
Oh my gosh.
And all of a sudden, like, I have been davening about this and like for clarity and for whatever. And all of a sudden, this like whole world like of possibility opened up again. But at the same time, there was that caveat. It's Sukkot now. She said, fine, like if he comes back to America for Pesach, I'm willing to go out with him, but like I'm not waiting for him. Like I'm in the Parsha and like my window is very short, you know, or it's a small window, and she's like, not waiting for him. And so on one hand, I was like excited about this possibility. The other time, it just brought on this whole, because we weren't in contact. Like I could just like get a call any day.
Yeah.
Like Mazel Tov, she's engaged, or she, you know.
He really liked you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really liked me.
I still do.
So I'm going to fast forward just a bit because, you know, in the interest of time.
Yeah.
This is around Hanukkah time. My step-grandfather had passed away. I was going with my grandmother, my mother, and my aunt to Israel to do the Hakamat Tzeva. And it was a massive snowstorm. Like we were literally about to take off, and we got stuck on the tarmac for 9 hours.
Oh.
Then we all got brought inside and literally slept in the airport for 40 hours.
40 hours?
It was
40.
well, the total trip was 40 hours.
Someone she was flying with had taken some sleeping pills.
No.
Before when they started taxiing.
Oh, no.
And they woke up, they're like, are we almost there? And we're like, we haven't even left yet.
9 hours later or something like that. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
goodness.
Anyway, so my mother was, you know, she's like, I don't think it's worth it to go. And I had it in my heart that I felt like I really had to go. So I went, I davened mincha. I said, I don't know why I have this feeling. I have to go to Israel. And I cried. And after I got back, my mom's like, okay, we'll go. And then they said, okay, we're ready to, you know, start boarding again. And we got on the plane, we got there. One of the stops we made was to a Rav in Bnei Brak. His name is, or was, he actually just passed recently, Rav Stern. And we went with my aunt, who was single at the time, because my grandmother had wanted a bracha for her to get married. And then my mother said, you know, why not? So she asked Rav Stern for a bracha, and he said, is she dating anybody here?
In Israel.
In Israel. And my mother said, no. It's like, she should. And that was it. And then the next day we had like a ton of errands. It was Friday. We ended up in Geula like pretty late in the day. And I'm walking down the street and I feel eyes on me. And I turn around and there he is, trudging up the hill with his backpack. And I'm like, oh no, I can't start this again. And I turn back around and I keep walking. And I had been having
El Zman was rough, but this was like in a way even harder. Winter Zman. Because I didn't know when the second shoe was going to drop. And like, it was hard. And at that point, my like feelings were more like focused. Like, this is like the prime time of my life to like be growing and the opportunity to be learning in Eretz Yisrael. Like, and to have this going on in the background is like a little bit of a shame. And it was hard. And so I went into Yerushalayim Thursday night to daven, and I was like, I need something. I need her to tell me that she hates me. I need that she's engaged, or that it's like it's over, or like that this is gonna happen, but like this is getting to be too much.
Yeah.
So that next morning, I had a chavrusa in the mirror on Fridays mornings. I was walking up from the mirror up into Geula, and it's the weirdest feeling to describe, but we both talk about how, like, I don't know if we saw each other and then like it registered and that's what we're experiencing, but there was this really weird feeling of all of a sudden, like, almost like fear, like a shock in my body. And then like, I like took a few more steps and then I saw her.
Whoa.
Yeah,
it
I had
was
the same feeling. It was so weird.
We also had only seen each other in person once.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't even know if I would recognize her. Like,
FaceTime didn't exist.
Right. You just had your Dear John.
And I
letters.
wasn't staring at her on the flight. Like, she was sitting next to me. Like, if we were talking, there was like talking about that. Like,
yeah.
And I bumped into her, and she had asked her teacher not to tell, cut my cousin.
Don't tell him I'm coming.
I'm in the country. I was like ready to faint. I like walked up to the place where all like the Shalavim guys, there's a share back to yeshiva. And I just standing there and I'm like, really feel like I'm like gonna faint. I'm like in shock. And I called her and I was like, you're not gonna believe who I just saw.
1 second.
Yeah.
1 second. So then basically, so he's in back of me and then he turns around, like he comes in front of me. And my mom had like, I was walking with her, but then she just like disappeared. Comes in front of me and he's like, hi. And I'm like, hello. And he says, I have so much to tell you. And I said, okay, but maybe not in the middle of Geula on a Friday. Like I literally thought I was going to get bleached.
I had been like, cut off. Like there was so much on my mind, on my chest that like I wanted to discuss. I was afraid of her just like
running away.
And that was it. Like I needed to like make sure that like she let me air my, my feelings.
And then I kind of just like, we kind of just left it at that. And I went to my mom and I was like, you'll never guess who I just saw. She's like, no.
Oh my goodness.
She knew immediately. And I said, yeah. She's like, well, what did you say? And I told her what happened. And she's like, well, you didn't invite him? I said, well, you don't let me invite him. And she said, well, obviously it's Bashar. You have to go tell him that we can meet. And I said, okay. So I ran across the street to where he was waiting. And I said, can you come to my grandmother's apartment on one of these days that I'm here and I'll email you the details? And he said, okay. And then he called.
I was like hesitant because I'm like, the grandmother's apartment, like what's going on here? I need more details. But yeah, so like this, when I had called her teacher, she is like, she wouldn't tell me originally. I'm like, you're not believe who I just saw. She played dumb.
And she said she's been in the country all of 1 minute.
Less than 24 hours, and I bumped into her. Yeah, so we arranged this meeting.
It was on the last day that I was in Israel because my mother's like, I don't want it to be that you guys are meeting afterwards. Like, I don't want a whole. And he comes to my grandmother's apartment and my mom opens the door and she says, hi, I'm my mom's name, Yona. I'm sure you know my daughter.
I'm pretty sure you know my daughter, yeah. And Bubby was in the back. No, I met her in the front, but then she disappeared in the back to her room.
And we basically sat there and just talked. He updated me about all the things that he had gone through until this point. And he told me that he was no longer going to the army. He had pulled out. He was contemplating going back to America after Pesach and staying there. And we talked about like all the different contingencies of why originally it didn't work. And there wasn't any reason that it shouldn't have worked at that point. Originally, there were so many things that were just like, oh, but this is why it can't work right now. But at that time, it just seemed to be everything fit.
You guys quasi had a basho.
We had a basho.
Yeah, everyone said that. Yeah, we had a basho. Yeah, I mean, at that point, I hadn't fully pulled out, but I decided to put the army part of like Aliyah on hold. I mean, I made Aliyah, but I decided not to get drafted yet, to stay in learning, and then, take it one zman at a time, or, figure out what I wanted to do. So we had this conversation, and then with permission, we got to go outside and take a little walk, like up and down the block.
As you would in Bisho.
Is that accepted?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it accepted? Yassi, do you take a walk in a basho? I feel like that sounds a little modern.
It depends with how extreme you are.
Okay.
Most people it's accepted.
Oh, okay. We've been told most people it's accepted. Sorry, I needed to ask the expert.
Okay.
Thank you, Yassi.
These days in 2025.
In 2025 it's accepted.
In
So guys, may have been very scandalous.
We started the trend. So.
Oh, I'm sure you did. Teaneck residents started the basho trend of walking. Mm-hmm.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So that was it. Shushy flew home.
I did.
I went back to yeshiva.
Wait. My mother called my father and said, "This is it. It's happening. Our daughter's getting married."
After the second date, we'll call it.
And then proceeded to call everybody that she knows and tell them that. So when I came home, I was under the impression, with no older sisters or older aunts that went through this process, I was unofficially engaged.
Yeah, my in-laws, and my mother-in-law, they live with incredible emunah, and like, I think that's part of why the story kind of had to happen this way. Like, I wasn't typical, but my mother-in-law started to see like a lot of, there's always Yad Hashem, but she started to see this Yad Hashem in it, and it kind of, I think, helped sway her mind. She's like, okay, let me give this a chance and see what's going on here.
Also, before we left off in the apartment, he asked me if I'll date anybody else. And I said, I guess not. And so to me, we were exclusive. So that was engagement. So that's how
the deal at that time was that I was going to stay till Pesach and then come back, and then we'll date, like as we had said. But it was like,
yeah, well, that's how when I got home.
It was January.
Yeah. When I got home, I sent him an email and said, okay, so in my circles, we're unofficially engaged. And he said, hold up.
No, we're not.
No, we're not. But at that point, I was convinced. So we basically spent the next couple of weeks like glued to the phone, talking to each other all the time.
We had like Gedarim that I think we put in place. I forget if like we consulted with somebody or whatever. Like
we did, and we failed at every single one of them.
At times we kept to like it was going to be twice a week or once a week, but like the talking became more and more. And my in-laws, I think, with this pressure of like Shushy is now waiting around for this guy. And the whole shidduch stigma, and like this is valuable time that she's losing. All of a sudden they like flipped, and I think they were very anxious about the whole situation.
Flipped in the way that they wanted it to happen.
They wanted it to happen. Okay. They're like, well, we want like let them date.
Yeah.
Like it's a mitzvah to get married. Like, you do a lot of things to help people get married. Like, you know, let them come back and date. Like, if he's ready, come back and date. And then if no, yeah, no.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to stay the rest of this month.
You also finally had peace of mind. So you were
Yeah.
like, I want that experience back of just being able to be present here
Exactly.
without Shushy
Um,
occupying my heart that was broken.
Yeah. So my father-in-law, I got a call one day.
Wait, preface with the fact that my father had never actually met him.
Okay.
Yeah. I had conversations with him, and I was emailing with him and conversations with him. And he really wanted me to come back. He was trying to persuade me to come back just to meet him. And then I go back to yeshiva. But I didn't want it to become a thing like, okay, you're back now date, now get engaged. Like, I was finally in the driver's seat a little bit, and like, I wanted, these are my terms. And so one day I get a call. He's like, I'm thinking about booking Eden Palace for Lag BaOmer. And my father-in-law is the nicest guy. Anyone who's ever met him knows that. And when he's like applying pressure, it's not even like, he's like saying things in the nicest way. Like, maybe it was like, he's not the type of person to put pressure, but he wanted Shushy to be happy, and he wanted my mother-in-law to be happy. And so he said, I mean, the way I see it, if she doesn't use it with you, she'll use it with someone else.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, but on my side, I was finally the one out of control, which is the space I hate to be in, where I had this person that I was so excited about, and I wanted to share it with the world. And like, nobody in my circle had somebody that they dated for more than like 2 dates. And then they didn't say, oh, we're getting engaged on whatever. And here I was. I mean, we never actually dated, but here I was feeling like I should be engaged, and then I wasn't engaged. And it was a very frustrating place for me to be in. So yeah, part of that pressure came from me. That being said, my father went out at the end of the day. He ended up coming home, and
So this is also like a piece of it was that I was close with a lot of different rabbaim and a lot of different people who also wouldn't necessarily aligned hashkafically or aligned on their thoughts on it. I mean, on one hand, I was very young and immature in some ways.
And you only met Shushy twice.
Only met Shushy twice, and like, but the whole proposal wasn't like go back and get engaged. The proposal was go back and date properly.
Yeah.
And so I was getting a lot of sort of mixed messages from different people supporting, say like, this isn't the right time, like in the right time, like things will happen, and you know, a lot of different messages. And one day it's just like, it was too much. And I just said, you know what? Like, it was about Purim time. I said, let me go home and give this a chance, and I can do whatever after Pesach, like, figure it out. So one additional highlight of the story is I spent my last Shabbos in Israel in Bnei Brak. There's a Rav I'm close with who had kids in Panovich, and they took me to the Vishnitzer Tish on Friday night. And we climbed up the back of the bleachers to the top, and that's how we got in and whatever. And on the way down, at the time I only had one suit. In yeshiva, nobody really wore, Israeli, like, don't wear suits. I had one suit, supposed to meet Shushy for the first time on like Tuesday. I'm flying back like Sunday or something like that. And on the way down on the bleacher, my suit gets snagged. And I was like really bummed, like, how am I going to get a suit in time for this first date or whatever? And I, walking out of like a Marav, Amos Shabbos, and davening, like, you know, for this week, it should be a good week, and all these things going on, and I'm anxious about this. I walk out of the Shtibel in Bnei Brak, and all of a sudden, it's a red light. A car pulls up right in front of me. It's my tailor from Yerushalayim.
What?
Standing right there in front of me. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's you. I knock on his window, and I'm like, I need to get these pants like repaired tonight. I'm leaving tomorrow or whenever it was. And he like sent me into like the middle Meisharim to this lady, and I went up the staircase, and like she did it for me on the spot.
Only in
And
Israel.
I had a suit. And they say like, in Eretz Yisrael there's a special like hashgacha pratis, and like I really felt that every step along the way. And so I had my suit. I got back, and I go back to America, and we went on a few dates.
We had on like one.
I mean, there's at least two, I think. But also, like, her friends, like, kind of stalked us on the...
You guys were like a big deal. There was a lot.
Everyone
This is
wanted
a
to
lot
know,
of
like,
built
what's
up
the deal?
drama.
Yeah.
What's happening?
And at the end of the day, we ended up getting engaged 2 weeks after
Oh my
he got
goodness.
home.
Wow.
I know a lot of the people that come on this podcast usually get married later.
Mhm.
And the reason why I think that it's important to tell stories like ours is because we see the miracles in our story and we see that it is miraculous. But every story that somebody has, like when it says that shidduchim like are kasha kukriyas yamsuf for Hashem. Every story has its miracles, even if it's just even if it's a shadchan that tells you, oh, I have this boy. That is a miracle. You would not have gotten to that point in your life to meet with that person who happened to have met that person.
Mhm.
That is a miracle. And I think that opening your eyes to the miracles is a very big part in appreciating that your miracle is happening. You never know what stage you are in that process, but you have to trust that there's a bigger picture. I mean, if you would have talked to us in October of 2010, we would have told you, no way, this is not happening. We're totally on different paths, and there's no way we're ever going to collide again. But our miracle was happening. We just had to trust the process and see it through.
And I feel like the two of you never would have been suggested to one another.
Oh, no, never.
I mean, there's alternative, like, not at that time, not if I stayed on that path and I had gone to the army.
Yeah.
I got to the army, even if it was like 3 years later and Shushy was still around on the market, whatever, like, they, in the parsha, whatever people say, like, nobody would have like
Never
like
thought
this
about
guy
it.
like
Yeah. And you know what? I welcome listeners to consider if maybe there's other options of people who may present differently, but internally may be exactly what you need. And if something comes up and you think, what? That's not the way we flow. That's not what we want. That's not what we're looking for. And it comes up, be curious, because what you think you need isn't what God knows you actually want. And be curious to see if maybe what is coming my way is something that's supposed to stay my way. And it's like clearly shown in your story.
Absolutely. And you mentioned before about people putting different sects of Judaism in a box. I think what's something beautiful that Binyamin and I have done together is create our own box of Judaism. And just because you don't fit into a box doesn't mean anything. Part of the beauty of Judaism is there's space for everyone. In whatever section, in whatever place you put yourself, however you identify, there's a space for you because you made a space for you. So
it's really beautiful. And how long have the two of you been married for? 15 years?
almost.
Coming along, 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's really, really amazing. Well, thank you for driving in. Thank you for bringing cookies. And thank you for welcoming me into your life. It's been so fun to meet your kids, to taste your food, to be a part of your world, and especially to bring you into my world on Stories of Hope. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
for
having
having us. And
Ah.
thank you for listening to our story.
Anytime, girl. Thank you so much. Hey, wasn't that sweet? It's so cool to see that God always has a plan. Nothing can get in the way. Things don't have to seem to make sense. It could even be that everything doesn't make sense. And yet, nothing can interfere with his plan. So wherever you are, if there's something you want, and it seems like all odds are against you, God works against the odds. Or is he in favor of the odds? I'm not sure how that quote goes, but you don't have to worry. Be calm. Enjoy where you are. Try to love what you have and know that there's always a plan happening throughout your story. And that's sort of what I took from their story. There's always a plan. It never has to make sense. And there's a lot of peace in letting go and letting God. So thank you for being here. If you have any thoughts, questions, or you want to come on our podcast, please reach out. Let me know at soh@meaningfulminute.org. You can send me an email too, soh@meaningfulminute.org. You know what to do if you want to let us know what you want to see more of. That's all I want. I want to provide content that you want to see. So don't be a stranger. Reach out. And thanks again for being a part of the SOH family. See you next week. Ba-bum-bum.